PBE. This is Io Torrent with your PBE Rewind Weekly Update. Well, the Season 24 regular season is in the books, and we are getting ready to kick off the playoffs. And as we were sitting around the news desk, we were thinking of all the different adjectives to describe the Season 24 season, and, you know, Meat Grinder, Thunderdome, Game of Thrones, all those things. We had all these kingdoms rise to power. Over in the east, newcomer Outer Banks, the old King Rougarous are back, the Voyagers who have been up there in the north for a while. Over in the west, it's the same old, Death Valley Scorpions and the Sloths representing over there. But then we have the newcomer, the Nashville Stars, Children of the Summer, the new hotness who broke their way through. Speaking of the west, holy crap, look at that. 69-39 with the Death Valley Scorpions, 68-40 San Antonio, 68-40 with the Stars. They've been just killing each other down there in the west. But we're here, we're going to break it down, and we're going to talk about the 6 playoff teams. But before we get there, let's go ahead and take a quick look back of the Season 24 regular season. Over in the East, the top 3 teams we've already talked about, Aviators, Rougarous, Voyagers, all finishing in the top 3 to earn playoff spots. Just missing out was the Indianapolis Apex, 55-53 on the year, a positive direction, move in the right direction for them. It'll be exciting to see how they move forward in the next couple of years. Sarasota Supernova are next with the Providence Crabs, and the Toros falling all the way down to last place. Over in the Western Division, top 3 teams, Scorpion, Sloth, Stars up there at 69-68 and 68 wins, with the Vancouver Vandals hitting 500, but not quite making it. It's the same with the Detroit Demons, 54-54, 500. Boise Raptors, 47-61, and the Kashima Foxes at the last place at 34-74. The wild card race was another close one with those top teams, Sloth, Stars, Rougarous, Voyagers, all right there, about 8-4 games within that range, with the Apex missing out 5 games back, Vandals 6 games, Detroit 6 games. It was a tight race till the very last week of the regular season, but that's all in the books, and now it's time to play some real baseball. So let's break down the playoff teams. So getting into the playoffs, I'm going to start over in the Eastern Division, the Thunderdome that was, as the top 3 teams, Death Valley, San Antonio, and the Stars, and we take a quick look at how they got to this place in the season. Starting with Death Valley, you can call them lucky, you can call them clutch. The Scorpions have a 15-8 record in games decided by only 1 run, by far the best win percentage in the league in that situation. They do have a rock-solid bullpen with the 4th lowest bullpen ERA in the league, and multiple sub 1.000 whip guys to close games with. But the strength of this team all season long has been the rotation. Death Valley starters have posted the best ERA in the league, even ahead of Outer Banks, which is insane. Their 3-headed monster of Frederick Enriquez Garcia, Vivi Zellman, and Shane Green can win playoff series pretty much by themselves. Listen to this. Enriquez Garcia has the lowest ERA in the league. Green has the most strikeouts in the league. Zellman has the 2nd most pitching WAR in the league, and these guys all play for the same team. When you add in the league's 6th highest scoring offense, which can both hit for the extra base, 3rd in extra base hits, and steal the extra base, 4th in steals, Death Valley looks downright scary. Some possible players to watch in this playoff are those 3 pitchers, Garcia, Zellman, and Green, with their closers to close the door shut. Death Valley, I think, is made for the playoffs. They got top-tier starters, 3 of them, to help out with the series. They got top-tier bullpen, and they have that hitting team. And then with their speed and extra base hits and just making contact, that is a really good formula for a playoff team to make a long run this season. Moving right along, we got San Antonio, which, what else can we say about San Antonio? They've been in the playoffs almost every year in existence, and they just seem to bring it each and every year. So let's just go ahead and take a quick look. They have been plagued at times by some bad defense. They're the only playoff team with a negative team-wide zone rating. They have MVP caliber talent at shortstop, catcher, and center field, all premier defense positions, and all have been negative zone ratings. Bobby McDonald, Stan Antonio, and John Cannon have combined to cost the Sloths 12.4 runs this season compared to the average fielders at their respective positions. Something to keep an eye on as we play can make the difference in a 5-game series. The Sloth's pitching is great and has been playoff caliber all season long. The offense is a swing for the fences lineup, the highest legging and most home runs in the league, but 4th most in strikeouts and 5th fewest stolen bases. It will be interesting to see if their all or nothing approach will take them further than Nashville's more contact-oriented and measured approach on offense. Players to watch is the immortal one, Bobby McDonald, Scott Poe, and the always all-star catcher, San Antonio. San Antonio is a team that I feel could just put up 20 runs one game and then lose by 20 runs another game, depending on how their defense plays and if their offense comes alive. It'll be interesting to watch them in the playoffs. I do think they, with their firepower and their all-stars, have a chance to go all the way, but I do think they have a little bit tougher road just because of the inconsistencies on defense. Last and certainly not least, we have the Nashville Stars. My pick at the beginning of the season to make a run this season and to finally come into their own. I really am excited about this team. So let's take a quick look. These guys are really excellent on both sides of the ball. Their strength might be their depth. They got 3 good starters this year, a hell of a bullpen, 3rd in the league this year in ERA, and every member of this staff contributing above average numbers. On offense, they've spread the wealth out as well and have contributors coming from everywhere and everyone. Without that big splashy MVP caliber type bat like San Antonio, they have found and get the most out of their players. Every player in the lineup is going to be hard out as they do not have an elite job of avoiding strikeouts. They do have an elite job of avoiding strikeouts. 4th fewest Ks and 2nd in batting average and swinging for contact instead of power, 8th in home runs. Although they're still 5th in slugging, so they can turn it up when they need to. And once they're on the base pass, they're a nightmare. 2nd in the league in stolen bases, and they have 6 different players in the lineup with at least 19 steals. All that is why I say their depth is their greatest weapon. And a team that, with the shortened schedule of a small series, if they can drag that series out, Nashville is going to be a team that wins in 6 to 7 games. If they can get to that point in the playoffs, they have the depth to stay energized and to get and just generate the runs on the base pass that I think is pretty important for a PBE playoff push. So they'll be a fun team to watch. I really am excited of the teams that are coming out of the West. I think it was an absolute meat grinder of a division, and to get out of it, I think establishes those teams as 3 teams to beat coming into the playoffs, and we'll just have to wait and see. Well, that'll do it for the West. Let's take it over to Geronimo, who's going to break down the East for me. What do you got over there on the eastern side of the map? Geronimo, take it away.
Okay, so 3 teams in the playoffs this year from the Eastern Division. Outer Banks has the 1 seed. New Orleans, New York get 2 of the 4 wild cards to make the playoffs. But I do want to start with the Outer Banks. The Outer Banks have the best pitching staff in the league, and they do everything well. They've got the lowest ERA. They've got the lowest bullpen ERA. They've allowed the fewest runs and the fewest hits. They've kept opponents to the lowest batting average. They have racked up the most strikeouts and only issued the 3rd fewest walks. They do everything. They do everything well. Listen, if I'm headed into the playoffs and I have a choice, I would rather have this rock-solid rotation of bullpen that the Outer Banks have than just a great lineup. Walker Cato is a strong candidate for pitcher of the year, and I think he has a shot at the MVP. His .087 whip for a starting pitcher across 27 starts is absolutely incredible. He came close to setting a new record for qualified pitchers in whip this year. Domingo Pozo makes the All-Star team for Sarasota. He gets traded mid-season. He somehow has a better second half than the first half, and since coming over, he looks every bit as dominant as Walker Cato. I mean, in only 13 starts instead of 27, but he's incredible. And in the bullpen, they have 2 late-inning, high-leverage guys they've used heavily all season long. They both finished the season with a sub-1 whip. As a final thought to leave you with, Outer Banks, 5th in the league in runs on offense and 3rd in their own division, but they've got a chokehold on their division. They won it by 8 games this year. They've got the best record in baseball, and it's because all season long, almost every member of this pitching staff has been dominant. With these guys, it's pitching, pitching, pitching. Moving on. New Orleans, number 2 seed in the Eastern Division, and they are the Outer Banks antithesis. I mean, they have average pitching carried by the league's best offense. And just like the Outer Banks pitching, the New Orleans lineup, I mean, it does everything. They have the highest batting average. They have the highest on-base percentage, the highest OPS. They've scored the most runs. They have the most hits, most extra base hits. They're second in home runs, walks, and strikeouts. They've stolen the most bases. The offense, New Orleans offense, literally has no weakness. As a collective, they're the best at almost everything. And even at the individual level, there's no lighting up. There's no holes in the lineup. Every single player is producing. They have one player with a batting average below the league average of 246. That's their catcher, Christopher Breu, who on top of being an above-average catcher defensively, he still slugged .430 with 20 home runs. He finished the season with 2.3 wins above replacement. 6 of the 9 players in New Orleans lineup finished the season with over 3 wins above replacement this year. That includes the season WAR leader, Paulo DiStefano Jr., who absolutely raked this year. He's going to be receiving lots of MVP votes. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen an offense this dominant and this well-rounded headed into the postseason. And finally, New York is the 3rd team out of the Eastern Division to make the playoffs. They do it with 60 wins. That's 5 wins clear of the field, which means there wasn't a whole lot of competition for that final wildcard spot, but that's also 4 less wins than any other playoff team, so New York is going to have an uphill battle. They're going to be the underdog in every series in the playoffs. New York had an elite offense. They did manage the league's 4th highest batting average and the 4th most runs despite some troubling strikeout numbers. But what I want to talk about is the manager and the manager's ability to set the order. So listen, if every player in a lineup produced equally, they would each score 11% of the runs and 11% of the RBIs, and added together, that means they account for 22% of the total runs scored. Tom Shue and Hardin Long have accounted for almost 59% of New York's total runs between them. I mean, they have MVP caliber talent in this lineup for sure. And congratulations on great seasons, but I have to think that some of these big numbers are a testament to the manager's ability to set the order and provide these lineups. This is magical what we're seeing out of New York. As for the pitching, it's been in the upper half of the league most of the season. Nothing special as a whole. Kevin Chiwate has stand out as a pitcher of the year candidate this year on a otherwise good but not great pitching staff. But they did post a high BABIP on the season, which means they could have been kind of unlucky, and we might see those numbers improve in the playoffs. That wraps it up for all 3 of the Eastern Division teams that made the playoffs this year. We wish them all the best of luck.
Thank you, Geronimo, for breaking down the East. Fantastic stuff, and always a great in-depth look each time you come on and break it down. So, that'll do it for this week. Actually, I know we haven't touched on the minor league playoff, but we're going to try something different just due to the time constraints of putting the show together each week. We're going to come back sometime this weekend and break down the playoffs in the minor leagues and recap the games that have happened and discuss some in-depth on that end this weekend. Also, look ahead. We are trying to get some interviews together for GMs to talk about how they built their teams to get to the season 24 playoffs. Look forward to that. Well, tune in next time and keep joining us each and every week and popping in for weekly content here at the PBE Rewind. This has been Io Torrance speaking for Geronimo and the rest of the PBE Rewind team. Thanks again. See you next time.